Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our two new friends, Matt and Frenchie from Happy Cow Games. We're here to break down some awesome indie games and everything in between. And before we get jumping right into the action, Matt, Frenchie, how are you guys doing? Welcome to the stream.
Doing pretty good. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and I am ready to get to milking some game information, but before we dive into that, first and foremost, Frenchie, I know that was a weird segue. I tried something with the cows. Frenchie, Matt, give us a little bit about who you guys are and how you got into creating indie games.
Do you want to start?
So I started games in high school at math class on one of the TI-83 graphing calculators. That's where it all started for me was, the one teacher who didn't immediately shut down any games in class. And from there, I just taught myself different programming languages. I went from the calculator to the computer, decided that's what I wanted to do. So I was very fortunate to go into college knowing I want to be a computer science major. And I always had this dream of making video games.
I did not have those dreams.
I was gonna say in school, I remember, what was it? The Oregon Trail was a big one, and then the math game. So you would it would be like you would do the math equation, and then you'd move your character across the game. It's awesome to hear that was your first introduction to us on a calculator. So Frenchie, what about you though? It sounds like maybe your introduction was a little bit better.
My introduction was for video gaming. Was through him because I'm a cartoonist and I started off doing anime conventions and selling wares there, and he was making video games, and I looked at his art and went, ooh, that's bad. And I was like, hold on, let me do that for you. That's just bad. I didn't know anything about animation. I didn't know anything of that nature, so I had to teach myself animation. I had to teach myself all sorts of things I did not know beforehand, just so he wouldn't put his art in there. It was so bad.
So what, beforehand, were you just doing like traditional art? Were you working like maybe on any comics or anything like that? Like what was your experience before jumping into games?
I did have a webcomic for a while, and I was working on that, and I would travel to like Anime Expo, and I would travel to different giant anime conventions, and I would sell posters, and I would sell like fat baby dragons and things like that. And I was traveling around doing paintings and sculpture, and then I saw his work, and it was so bad. And he's like, "This is my duck. It's a crow." I'm like, "Oh, that's not a duck." Like, it was bad.
So Matt, it sounds like you're not the artist. What's your role into creating games?
So I always say that I kind of take the art from Frenchie, the music from our sound person, my little brother, and glue tape and mash it together. So I'm the programmer, the nuts and bolts. For Ducks in Space, I handled the level design, any kind of mechanical things with numbers, like I'll be doing the combat, experience points, economy, and Cataclysms and Catastrophes.
It's magic. That's what it is. I send him pretty pictures and he makes them move.
Yeah, that part always boggled my mind. To see the artwork and just to make it move. It's like I could never comprehend how does that happen. Frenchie, you said when you dove into this, you had to teach yourself, animations and stuff. Can you give us a little bit, what went into that?
I don't know any of the newer animation techniques, so I had to go with what I knew, which was frame by frame animation. So I draw 15 to 20 frames for making something move. So you'll get each individual motion. So he just puts all of those on a spreadsheet and makes it animate. So I was like painstakingly moving things on in like a little onion skin to make sure it would work. And I'm just like, that foot's wrong, trying to make it move.
So Matt, sorry, go ahead.
I was like, ugh.
Matt, did you do any sort of special classes, or how did you learn how to, animate stuff like that? It seems like it's such a complex thing to learn.
Well, I had one game programming class in college, the only one that was offered, and they didn't do too much with animation. They were more worried about the programmer aspect, as it was part of the computer science major. I use Unity game engine, and they do like all of the heavy lifting. All I have to do is get the images the same size and in a nice kind of grid sprite sheet image and feed it into the animator. And then Unity does all of the heavy lifting for me.
No, that's awesome. We have Oblivia over on Twitch stopping in to throw some hype in, saying, I love the cow ears in the hat. Oh my God. Yes, yes, yes. I love just the hype that came in right away. So give us a little bit about your game studio as well.
All right, so we are Happy Cow Games, founded Leap Day 2016, February 29th. It just was kind of random. Didn't plan that, but I realized later on the paperwork it said it's February 29th. So we've been making games for a while. We have Ducks in Space out on Steam now. We're working on Cataclysms and Catastrophes. Been a few other minor projects that have shown our growth over the years.
Mm-hmm.
We started Ducks in Space because another friend had told us that they're like, hey, let's make this really stupidly complicated game with that looks like Eve and has spaceships and
Eve
everything.
Online.
And he's like, can you do 3D animation? And I was like, no, no, I cannot. I can make something cute though. And I was like, I could do like a duck. And he was like, nah. And then Matt was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's make Ducks in Space. And we talked about it and brainstormed this silly little thing. And eventually it became a whole video game.
Speaking of Ducks in Space, I actually had the opportunity to play the demo. Let's go ahead and pop that up and check it out. And then kind of break down the game while we watch me play the demo. For everyone that is watching, hold on one second, let's pause it so we're not missing out on this. Right here is the link right here. You can actually play the demo for free yourself. And the game is only, what, $10 it looks like? Yeah, $10 as of right now. Is that the kind of the flat rate price, or is that a sale?
Nope, that is the flat price. There's 40 levels.
Wow. So in the demo, we played about, I want to say roughly 3?
Yes, the first 3 levels are available for free in the demo.
All right, so right here.
Get more fun later.
So when Matt first talked to you, you said he had kind of like some crude drawings for this game?
Yes, they were bad. The duck, he drew it in like black and white, and it looked like someone had smushed a crow, and it was just like across the screen. It was this horrific image.
So what type of influences are we seeing here? I know for me, when I was playing, I kind of picked up obviously on the I feel like Mario's the easiest of it because it's a platformer, but a little bit of Sonic at the end. If that, if that makes sense, because you hit the switch and you kind of like blow the thing up, and kind of reminded me when you would blow it up and like free all the animals from it.
Yes, exactly. We thought about doing something like that, and then Frenchie is the idea person, and she said, "Well, what if it's just this goose generator?"
Trying to figure out why it was there. We're just like, it just makes geese. That's how all those geese are there.
So what's up with the geese hating the ducks? Like, what's the story with it?
Well, everyone has a bad goose story usually. Captain Quackers is trying to stop the evil goose empire from taking over the universe because they're evil geese, and they just slowly try to swarm all of the worlds. So they build generators, and there's millions of little geese everywhere.
Have you ever encountered a goose yourself?
Yeah, they can get pretty violent for no reason either. You're just minding your own business, and they're like, "Yep, I'm gonna ruin your day."
And thus they became the villains.
So I also like to and we'll see this too in the third level, the gravity is actually different. There's more weight to the jumps with the duck. You know, what went into that in terms of like program? Right here, I misjudged my jump, almost had a perfect run, but you know, what goes into programming that? Because that seemed like it was such a cool function.
So that's actually really easy with Unity. Now, in the version before this, so this is actually the second polished version that's out on Steam. I made I guess you could call it an alpha version in JavaScript, and that involved quadratic equations and such for jumping. But in Unity, all you have to do is say, the gravity is this, and it works like magic.
When you said those equations, I'm like, you already lost me. No, that is so awesome. And then I liked right here too, we had a secret little level too. So I'm always a sucker for those type of environments. You know, are we going to see more of that within this game?
Oh, absolutely. So you see in the top left there, you have coins and geese. So the first 2 levels, it's not too hard to get all of them. But to get them all in every single level is quite a challenge. And only myself, our best tester, and one streamer, the Game Enjoyer on Twitch, has been able to fully 100% this game. So 3 people out of, I think, 120 unique users.
Oh, wow.
Which also involves finding the 3 dragonflies that are hidden throughout the game.
So right here we have our first like boss encounter. How many different bosses can we experience within this game?
There's about 8 or 9. I forget the exact number. But
I had a lot of fun drawing each unique boss. Having to think of the different ones, like Chicken Goose. Chicken Goose is a fun one. He shoots chickens out his cannon.
You know, right here the gravity is a little bit different. You can kind of see with the jump. You know, I don't jump nearly as far. Are there any other different like environments or levels that we can see kind of changes like of that manner?
Yes, so in the first 2 levels, your gravity is kind of the medium range gravity, and in this one it is hard to jump. In some levels, such as our optional challenge level, which we call the troll level, gravity is very floaty. And so you can jump really high, but in that particular level, you find it difficult to dodge bullets because you're floating so slowly.
And right here, I learned the consequence of using that weapon a little too soon. You know, I wanted to get those items, but I was unable to because I wasn't able to get through the bricks. So, you know, I often hear that there's like a level of like psychology that goes into this that kind of like push your players to do certain things. You know, what went into that with some of these level designs?
So I wanted to make a game where anyone could beat the game if they tried hard enough, but to make it very challenging to completely 100% the game. And so kind of coming up with these puzzles of how to, you know, use the laser cannon at the right spots in this level, or in later levels you find the portal that goes to the diamond there. Designing those puzzles was a lot of fun.
See, like right here, I'm not able to get all the coins because I used all the lasers to get all the geese. So, you know, I love the way that was designed. Once again, right here, this was just the demo, but we can also check out a little bit of that Steam page. So let me go ahead and remove this. We'll go right here and check this out as well. All right, so we have Ducks in Space, a 2D platformer where you play as Captain Quackers, a duck attempting to thwart the plans of the most evil creatures in the universe, geese. So released November 1st, 2019. Any plans for like any future like updates or DLCs with this game, or is it pretty much finished where it stands?
It's pretty much finished as we're focusing on Cataclysms and Catastrophes. If there's enough demand, of course, we'll go back to it. We do have ideas for a sequel and, of course, more levels. We have a lot of fun designing the levels and the bosses. So,
Ducks in Space, the quackening.
Oh, right here. Yeah, I love that. I love the little pirate ship right here, too, in the cannon. These geese are a menace.
That is one of my favorite levels you can go through is the pirate world. You fight Captain Goosebeard.
So we have, once again, over 40 levels. Things just start out fairly easy, but then they start to get more and more difficult as you go. And try to be one of the only few to 100% this game, you know, with just a handful of people. You can have your name in the Hall of Fame. The Goose Hall of Fame, right? The Hall of Geese. So right there is a link for you guys to check out the Steam page. Let's head over to the next game, though, and that's the one I'm really excited to talk about as well. Give us a little bit about what this game is and what we can, you know, expect to experience when we play it.
Frenchie?
Cataclysms and Catastrophes would be my baby because this is the genre I enjoy most, which is RPGs. I am obsessed with RPGs, so I'm a huge fan of games like Final Fantasy and D&D and things like that. And we decided to make an amalgamation of role-playing games and having the old Final Fantasy kind of tactics and things like that. And you'll go through and you'll have your choice of 4 different adventurers you can play as. Right now, as you can see in here in the middle is the fighter. You have fighter, a thief, a mage, and unusually a bard. I like that. I'm very excited for the bard. As you can see him, he was right
I love
there.
the ball of yarn right here too.
That is our save spot.
Oh, is it? I love that. Like, I just thought it was like a neat little Easter egg. I love the save spots being a yarn ball. I'm a big cat fanatic. I'm not sure if you guys have seen my profile picture, but it is me animated with my cat. So when I seen you guys were interested in the interview, I was like, we have to get to talking about this.
The heal animation is if you saw that light there, the cat will curl up and go to sleep, and that's how he'll heal his life.
That is so cool. I love this little guard cat too, like with the helmet. It's just like, this is perfect. What type of influences were you touching on when you were coming up with some of these designs?
When it came to the designs of these characters, I thought I would take everything kind of like fantasy, medieval, multiple, like it is an amalgamation of different architecture. Like if you pay attention to the architecture, and I really hope you don't, it is like a mixture of Italian architecture and English architecture, a little bit of Irish architecture. And I'm like, let's just mix it all up and throw it in there. And when it came to, obviously, like the mage, you can see the Final Fantasy influence. I loved Final Fantasy VIII, and I loved Vivi was one of my favorite characters. So I had to make the character a little black magey. So it was a black cat.
Such a sad story too. Oh my God, you just opened up some wounds with Vivi. Like I just recently beat Final Fantasy IX, I want to say a couple months ago. Like I always try to do a playthrough every couple of years, and it's just so sad. It's like, man, don't let him die. Vivi, no.
Vivi. I haven't played through it in forever, but I love the old Final Fantasy games.
So this has. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, and I was pushing it onto him, so we did his genre last time, which is platforming, which I'm terrible at, and so this time we get to do my genre, which is RPG, which he's okay at.
So real quick, we see that this is slated for a November 1st, 2023 release. Any idea on a price point at this time?
So we should mention that that release date, we might get a downloadable demo by then, but it's going to be a couple more years. I haven't been able to figure out how to change that date in the Steam.
Oh, well, my apologies about that.
No,
that's our fault.
I definitely need to figure out how to change that because the full game will not be ready by then. We're hoping to be around $15,
okay.
But we'll reevaluate at the end of the process since it is still an evolving game. We have a demo we take to conventions, and we get a lot of very useful feedback from that. And so we're still very much changing even the most fundamental things right now.
Like that background right there is not accurate. That is not my art.
So what type of RPG experience are we going to see? Is this going to be like your classic turn-based RPG? Is there going to be, what type of leveling system are we going to see? What type of magic system? Let's get into some of these details.
So the combat will be turn-based with kind of some user interaction. So the fighter in the demo we show at conventions has kind of a 2 meters. He has an accuracy meter where it fills up and you try to hit the target, and then a power meter which you try to max out, and then you do your sword strike accordingly. The mage has these runes that kind of spin around, and you have to hit the certain ones in certain points to form a spell.
Oh, that's
that
so
one can be
cool.
a little more complicated, or we're trying to workshop it to be small enough where you can do it every turn without being frustrating, but also interesting. The thief will have this kind of target that kind of grows, shrinks, and you have to use precision.
Mhm.
The bard is perhaps my favorite. He has a treble clef that will fill up, and you'll have to hit these markers on the beat, kind of like a rhythm game. And again, it'll be a really short, quick thing, so you don't get tired of doing it.
Yeah. I see the biggest thing with turn-based RPGs is like the battling. You know, if you play one from a couple years ago, it could be a little boring. You know, you often see when they get quality of life updates, they give you the option to do 3 times the speed. You know, so I'd like to see and like to hear that you're going to be including things that kind of keep you moving in the middle of battle, and I think that is important to kind of keeping that attention span like focused on the game.
Yeah, if we're
I'm so used to button mashing.
Yeah, it's like speed up.
And you're like, I've skipped a conversation that was important. I wasn't supposed to do that.
So, are we going to be seeing any sort of like different armor and like weapons? Like, what type of equipment can we expect?
Well, I made sure to draw them with the ability to change out their weapons, and like in different multiple RPG games, you'll be able to upgrade or have that. And of course, I like the idea of having joke weapons as well. Like with the fighter, I want to give him a squeaky toy hammer.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that is perfect. That is perfect. So, how long can we expect this game to be? I know you said you have a couple years out until it's going to be ready and playable, but like just a basic, I guess, like estimated on the time frame, like for completion for the average player.
How many different areas did we want?
Let's see. There's the forest, the swamp, the dark forest, the starting town. There's going to be multiple different cities, which hopefully I can reuse art for the cities. I draw every single piece of art in this: backgrounds, characters, animation, monsters. It is hundreds upon hundreds of images I draw for this.
I think we tossed like the number 8 around as kind of a classic, video game target. A number of worlds or areas.
Yeah, and they'll all have different types of monsters. And while you see all the cute stuff here, there will be monsters that are not quite so cute.
Okay. I love that. Like, what type of like enemies can we expect? Are they going to be kind of like centered towards cats, or is it going to be a little bit of everything?
I'm creating all new types of monsters, some with mythological bases, some I look at random things outside. I'm like, that could be a monster. Let's create it. And like, I have one that's based off the save spot that you won't find till later, maybe in the desert area, I believe. And it's going to look kind of like an anglerfish, but the safe spot yarn will be popping up the ground, but it's actually going to give you a little telltale sign that it's actually a monster.
Kind of giving me some Dark Soul vibes, like with the mimic chest.
I love mimics. They are like one of my favorite monsters.
You could only tell because the chain. Well, are you guys talking D&D or Dark Souls?
D&D.
Yeah.
Mimics.
So with Dark Souls, the chest will usually have like the chain pointing towards you, and that's how you tell. Because the other chest, like the chain, like there's a chain, it'll point towards the wall, but you could always tell and then it'll occasionally move. Because when you go to open it, it eats you. Like, is it like I'm not that well versed in D&D, so is it like kind of the same?
With mimics, usually you'd have to roll a perception check to be able to tell that it's a mimic. But with the save spot monster, it will be like Dark Souls in that you'll have a little marker that'll tell you that it is not quite right. But if
that's
you're not
so
paying
cool.
attention, you're like, oh, I really want to save real quick, and you run up to it, you're just going to get chomp, and you'll end up in a boss fight.
After going through both of these awesome games, let's kind of talk about, how this collaboration works between you two. How does that work? Do you come up with an idea and you give it to Frenchie and you're like, hey, can you draw this? Or Frenchie, do you have an idea? And you're like, hey, can you program this? Like, how does that work between you two?
Well, usually I'm like with Cataclysms, I came up with the idea when we were at PAX South, because I was standing in line and someone's like, man, if it had cats in it, I'd buy it. And I was like, done, let's make a game with cats. And I really liked RPG, and he's like, let's do it. And so we usually discuss between each other. We have the benefit of being married, so we just talk everything through with each other.
Just the good ideas, the creative ideas. I have the nuts and bolts kind of. Oh, I could do this to make it smoother.
And I'm like, this would be weird. Let's add it.
It's a good balance, though, right?
Yeah, he is the perfect balance, because without him, I can't make games. I just make pretty art, and without me, he has stuff that works, but is a monster.
That is so awesome. I love it. I know you guys said that this the last game we were talking about still has a little bit of time before it's ready to be finalized. Is that the only project you're working on right now, or is there anything else that you're kind of might be dabbling into?
He plays with the VR, but this is all I'm working on. I cannot work on anything else while working on this. There's just too much I have to do with this. It's just
because it's such an intensive artistic endeavor. I've had a little bit more time, so I've been messing around a little with Steam VR, and I am hoping to release something now. I'm looking more in like the $5 and under range, because I don't have an artist, but I release just a VR game for fun that I have fun, kind of throwing together in the spare time while Frenchie works on the art.
Yeah, I usually, he's like, oh, I can work again. You sent me something new.
Hey, maybe we could see Ducks in Space in VR next time, White. That'd be cool. That'd be awesome. So real quick, before we end things completely, I always love asking anyone that comes onto the stream for a little bit of advice. Since you guys are two indie game developers, let me ask you a question that's more geared towards that. For anyone who's out there who's interested in just getting started in creating games, what advice would you offer them? And feel free to give advice in your respective roles too. If you want to give like programming advice, and Frenchie, if you want to give maybe the art side of advice for games.
Well, for me, I really wanted to make games. And so even though I was mostly on my own at first, my advice would be to just do it. Even if you have terrible art that everyone's going to laugh at and make fun of you, you might get lucky and run into an artist. You might not be so lucky as to be married to one, but you might run into someone that you can work with, contract with, and you might find those missing gaps in your own skill set. So just make something. If you really want to do it, just go at it, get something done, and have a good time doing it.
Oh, that is awesome. Thank you. Frenchie, what about you?
So for the artist perspective, you can either do it yourself, try to learn programming, and which can be very difficult.
That's not that hard.
Yeah, okay.
That's the easy part.
Yeah. But or you can find computer programmers, because there's a lot of computer programmers who really want to develop games. If you can find someone you can trust, because you do, and you can work a contract, it's important to make sure that you work a contract in if you don't know them that well, because you want to make sure that you get paid. As an artist, always make sure you get paid. It's one of the hardest things. Do not take free stuff. Do not give away your art. I'm married to mine, so I don't mind. But if you want to get out there, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to go meet people. You have to be willing to talk to people. You have to just really, really get out there and throw your work out, show it. And that's how I would suggest doing that. And if you want to learn how to do animation, if you've never done it before, Clip Studio is an excellent program to learn that on. That's what I learned on. It's great for frame by frame, and it's very, very forgiving.
That's so awesome. And absolutely do not work for exposure. Work for money. You are worth it. And make sure, you get what you're worth too. I feel like a lot of artists undersell themselves. So I think that's very important as well. Thank you too for swinging by, breaking down Happy Cow Games and your guys' awesome catalog of games as well. Everyone watching, be sure to check out those links. It's free to wishlist, so wishlist away. Be sure to share those on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you can. Word of mouth is 100% free. This has been a fantastic Monday night, so I hope you guys all have a lovely one. But most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.